There are the same amount of neurons in the human gut as that of a cat. Isn't that interesting? It's there you So isn't it interesting to know that we have expressions and we have an experience of those brains in operation? If you have ever grappled and struggled with a really difficult decision, this tells you one thing, this tells you something else. What's my gut instinct? Yep. And that's when we know a decision is difficult to make, because those three things are not in agreement. Yep. The emotional side of me, my heart is giving me information that is sending me in that direction. The logic is giving me different information, sending me there. And this is the place of motion and courage. And it's giving me very different information, isn't it? Yep. So do you know of children or have been around, or maybe you were one, that had such a nervous reaction to taking a test on test day that they felt sick to their stomach? Okay? That's the gut brain communicating. Yeah. It has a mind of its own. And this is true. Now, you mentioned spine before, yes? Okay, so that's the next place that they're looking at in terms of truly defining it. And we're not talking about the spinal cord itself, but the nervous system. Okay, so we're talking about the vagus nerve, the autonomic nervous system. We have over 3 trillion neurons in the system. That's a lot of neurological hardware and real estate going on in the body, right? So we're going to talk about how that develops. But suffice it to say that a man by the name of Ivan Pavlov, anybody know that name ringing any bells? Har, 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 for anybody?
Pavlov's dog, isn't it?
Yes, Pavlov's dog. So Ivan Pavlov is the man that today we would associate. He's the guy that we call the father of behavioral science. He was an observer, a scientist who wanted to understand when we learn to behave in certain ways, what causes that process? How is it that behavior develops? So he happened to also raise German shepherds and did some, if you ever want to read about it, get prepared, because there were some pretty ugly experiments. So don't go there if you are not interested in that. But he noticed something interesting about the dogs. And he said, German shepherds as a breed in general are not normally slobbery breeds. They don't go around salivating all the time like, what are the big ones? St. Bernards, and yeah, exactly. They're not all the time. But he noticed, when I put food down in front of my dogs, they begin to slobber and salivate, yes. So he was asking the question, what causes that response in the dogs? Right? Now, what do you think he reasoned? What would cause the slobbering to occur? They might see the food, they might smell the food. And this was his reasoning. He said, I think it's that combination. And what he was wondering is, do both of those senses have to be triggered or given input to? Do they have to both see and smell in order for the slobbering to occur, right? And what he worked out was, no. He did a lot of experiments to go, what is the input required? And he worked out he did things like blindfold his dogs. Put the food down, the dogs could smell the food, and they began to slobber. So he went, no, it only takes one sense or one piece of input to cause the process. Now, I want to know what he was smoking when he asked this question, because it's way out there. He said, would it be possible to cause the dogs to slobber without the presence of food at all? Could we do something that would cause that response, but they can't see food and they can't smell it?